All right. Welcome, everybody, to We Are Worship Wednesday on Blab. Really excited you guys are here. We have Wyatt from Proclaim Church Presentation Software. We're really excited about it. I'm going to take a different perspective into our worship setting and see what it looks like on the presentation side, which is going to be really cool. If you're not familiar with We Are Worship, we are a resource website. We have chord charts, lead sheets, really just a place for worship leaders to go and to seek out new material. We have a free song of the week every week, and we have a free hymn of the month. So this week's free song of the week is Made New by Lincoln Brewster, and the hymn of the month is In Life and Death by Greg Sykes. Like I said, We Are Worship Wednesday, really excited about it. I think this is going to be fun. I have Wisdom here with me. He's the main man. He is the boss.
No, you have the mug that says I am the boss. So I'm not the boss.
Yeah. I do. I actually showed this to my boss, and he was like, yeah, I think I need that. Like, you do. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, our topic today is 5 reasons to record sermons and how to get started. Obviously, if you are watching us right now, the guy that's our guest doesn't look like a Kayla. So
it's true.
Get that out of the way. So Wyatt, maybe start off by telling us what your role is at Proclaim and what you do there.
Absolutely. Sure. So my name is Wyatt Shedd-Stewart, and what I do is I have the opportunity to tell people who are using our product how it works. I get to have the opportunity to talk to pastors in person and kind of through all different formats and find out what do their ministries need? What would they like to have different? How do we meet those needs? And so Proclaim Church Presentation Software is this opportunity to take all the various components of putting together your services and your presentations. And that's the songs, that's sermons, that's announcements, all those different components, and try and get them all in one place where you're able to work together with your team online, have everything syncing. It's just a huge time saver. And the reason we're having this conversation here is a couple months ago, I think, probably about 2 months ago now, we released a new feature where we're bringing in the ability to record your sermons as you're working. And so that means that, pastor gets up, he wants to preach, rather than having a separate computer, a separate mic, separate recording system, you can just have everything running through one program. He says, I want to record my sermon plus these 2 bits. And when the missionary steps up on stage, you record everything, you post it, and now your church can listen to it immediately after the service. So that's kind of the core idea. But really, as we were diving into how do we make that a reality technically, we also were looking into what is the philosophy of why do we want people to record? Why do pastors want that? And what are the real needs that are being met for the church when we do that?
Yeah. Well, before we dive in, I got to mention we actually got to hang out a couple of times last year and enjoy some Korean barbecue.
Yes, we did.
I think that was your first experience with Korean barbecue.
It was, yeah. The first time was, I think, when we were on the East Coast, and that was the place that had K-pop on like every TV screen all around. It was surreal. That was the most fun I've ever had in a place I didn't know I was going.
What was the weirdest meat you tried at Korean barbecue?
I don't think it's fair to say I tried it. The weirdest meat you guys forcibly made me try was small intestine. That was a uniquely memorable experience.
The thing where there's like stuff oozing out from the middle, right?
Stop. No.
Like grilling on the barbecue.
And then it starts like, this long, and then like shrinks down till it's a piece this tiny. And then you're like, oh, just eat it, it'll be tasty. And it's not.
So if you're watching us or listening to us, you got to try Korean barbecue if you can.
Try Korean barbecue. Please don't try the intestine.
Please do try.
While we're sharing little known facts, Wisdom is really good at arcade games. That was learned at a Dave & Buster's.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he has some mad derby car racing skills and can even jump a jet wave pretty well. So, yeah.
Oh.
Not as good as the rest of us, but pretty good.
But...
Pretty good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thankfully we didn't record any of that a few months ago, but we do want to talk about recording sermons. And, we live in an age right now where people, I know even from my personal experience, when they are looking for a church, whether they're going to they move to a new area, or maybe they're looking for a new church. The first thing I do is look for websites of churches and Google, churches in the area, and try to find actual video or audio of the sermon, any kind of content, that I can find, video or audio. I do that before I step foot on any church parking lot, which I know most of us do these days. That's just our world. That's the reality. And there's also different aspects of that too, besides just new people looking for a church. So let's start off by talking about why would a pastor or pastoral team even want to invest in this, and why would they even care about this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think you can answer this question by looking at everybody in the room. So for the pastor, they got a couple of reasons. One big reason is most pastors spend anywhere from 15 to 30 hours a week working on sermons. And that's a ton of time to put into something that only happens once for less than an hour, one day of the week. So being able to say, how do we take that work and make it available so that, you're cataloging it, you get it up on your church website. And then at the same time, the pastor wants exactly what you're describing, somebody to be able to look at their website, look at their church, and find out not just, kind of the superficial, what color is the building, that sort of thing, but, what's really at the heart of their sermons and their ethic and what are the way they're trying to reach their community. And so when you can put your sermons on your website, that's huge. And so I think that's one side of it. On the other side, you've got the people who are attending, and that's the people that are there on Sunday. And if you're anything like my mom, she's wanting to go ahead and watch the sermon, but then she's like, oh, I really like that part. I want to hear that again. Yeah. So having the ability to go back and listen to it is huge. And then I think the other really big component. So here's an example. I used to help out in Sunday school when I was at my home church before I moved out to school. And when we were there, if I'm downstairs helping out with the kids during the sermon, I'm missing the sermon. Now, it's important to be with the kids, but it's also important to not have the chance for me to also be fed and find out what the pastor was saying. And so having the ability to go find that message, hear it again, is really exciting. So I think that's a lot of the reasons why we're doing that. And then kind of on the other side of it, I got to talk to some pastors earlier this year as we were making this. And one of them, he lives out on one of the islands here in the Pacific Northwest. He has a church out there. And they had a military base nearby, so you have lots of servicemen that are starting to come to church. And then the base shuts down or people get deployed or something happens. They've already made these connections. There's a personal connection with that pastor, and they want to keep hearing his sermons, even if they're halfway around the world. And so not just that, I'm normally there, but I used to be there, and I care about those people, and I want to still be part of that work. And so it's another reason to have that.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, during the Christmas break, I have 4 kids, and they were kind of passing around some sickness, and we missed 2 Sundays in a row. And our church, live streams the service, so we were able to watch the service, and then they also record the sermon. So if we miss the live streaming, we can listen to the sermon through the website or through the podcast. So it's for so many people. They may be sick, or they may be hospitalized for a long time. They can still be a part of, their church community. So I love that about technology. There's a lot of things I hate about technology, a lot of things I love about it. Like what we're doing now. I love, being able to do something like this. And, just the fact that the word of God can be accessible to so many people through that,
Absolutely. And the other really nice thing, is when you have a sermon that you've made and that's got, for one of the things we'll get into in a little bit, but we're not just trying to get the audio. We're trying to get audio and the visual component as something that you can share out. When you have that, then it's so great to be able to take that and use that somewhere, right? So you're not just saying come to our website, but you're also able to say, maybe it's a Facebook group page that's, churches in the Birmingham area, for you to be able to go, hey, are you new to Birmingham? Come check out our church. And you can share that right there. And so it's a way to be able to also not just have people finding you, but going able to go out and find people and show them what you're offering.
Awesome. Very cool. So before I moved to Nashville, over a year ago. I was at a church in Kansas City, and I was the worship leader, and I switched our system, like presentation software, from something else, I won't name who, to Proclaim. And I don't know if I just didn't see the feature or if it was added, but I never like knew that there wasn't a way to like record sermons individuals. Is that like a new thing?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a new thing. So that's something that it's probably I want to say 2 months ago, maybe 3, somewhere in that window. You know how the holidays blur together. But we had just been listening to this, and it's been this kind of thing in the back of our minds for a long time. How do we do more than just help in the Sunday morning service? How do we take what they're doing and make it all week long? And how do we bring more out of that? So right now, previously Proclaim had been really good at making it simple for you and your team to work together and make a presentation visually on Sunday morning. But after that, after Sunday morning, what do? You just go ahead and work on next week's. But there's a whole 6 days where you can still be connecting with your congregation and using all that work. And so we wanted to find a way to make it last. And we were saying, visual is great. How do we bring in the audio and really give the complete experience that someone is missing on Sunday morning or wants to relive from Sunday morning? And so that was what kind of bore out this idea. And so once we got to do that, we started to be able to say, what is maybe missing, or what are people kind of having to jump through hoops for right now? And how do we make that even simpler? So it's been fun.
Awesome. So since we can't do screen share on this, unfortunately, can you kind of like walk us through like how that works? Is it pretty easy, or do you have to be pretty tech savvy?
Yeah, no, it's super easy. So one of the things I just did is I just put in a link to our main website. And then the other link I'm going to go ahead and drop in here is this is a training article as well as a video that just walks you through what are the basics, how does it work, just so you can see that it is really simple. Don't let the words throw you off. Just go ahead and give the YouTube video a play. But really, all the way it works is it's really simple. If you've used Proclaim or never used Proclaim, all you're doing is setting up a service, and that's going to have, probably announcements. It's going to have the Bible verses, the sermon, anything that you want to have as part of your normal Sunday service, right? And what we did is we added in this ability for you to just go ahead and say, I want to start recording here and stop recording here. You could do that 3 times, 1 time, however many times you want to get whatever components you want to save and share later. And then the program's just running in the background. So you go ahead and start the recording. It'll give you the indicator that while you're, live working through everything else, now audio has also started being saved. And then when you finish, we have a little button in the program called the on air button. So when you click that and you wrap up and you go off air, what it does is it automatically opens up a window. You don't even have to go looking for it. There's just a window right there. It's got your entire recording. You can say, I want to go ahead and listen to whoever was working on, say, this Sunday sermon. I'm going to list out the pastor's name, a little bit about it. Here's a cool picture. And then I can edit it, make sure any changes I want. And then I just hit publish, and bam, it's up on your group that you have on our website. People can find it. They can comment on it. And so one of the real hopes that we have is, just like any place where you're trying to connect with your church or new people, it's all about that element of, is there something for them to find when they go looking for you? So if somebody hits your church, is there something for them to interact with? If your church has a Facebook group, right? Are there people there actively taking part in the conversation? And so one of the things we do is we're part of the company Faith Life, and we've got a website called Faith Life where you can create groups. And so you can have a church group. And what you do is you make it so your sermon can go straight there to the group. And what's wonderful is that means every time you finish a sermon, that's in a group where people can find it. Now they can go ahead and say, hey, I love that point, Pastor, or I didn't know about this, or what was the book that you were talking about there? And so it's a way for people to really try and engage and have more of an opportunity to delve into the sermon all week long.
Yeah, I noticed how you didn't say, like, you can go on there and complain about the sermon. Pastor, I really didn't like what you said there.
It's an opportunity.
Hey, Barry Westman, long time no see. Hope you're doing well. So, yeah, that sounds like really high tech. Like, did you whip this up overnight by yourself? One night?
That's a great question. So actually, one of the things, this is kind of fun. One of the things our company does is they're called hackathons. And these are hackathons. So let me break this down for you. Basically, once or twice a year, we have like a real one, and then we have like a smaller one with our interns. We will go ahead and put together teams of no more than 5 people. And this can be someone who wants to make a new thing. This can be somebody like me who wants to talk about that new thing. This can be all sorts of people. You bring in your team, and you've got 24 hours to say, here's my idea. Make it work in some sort of technical manner. Maybe it doesn't work totally super well yet, but you make it convincing. And basically, you're trying to prove a new idea and say, we think this is valuable and why. And then at the end of that, everybody shares their ideas. They get evaluated. A couple people win some prizes. But what it really does is it gives somebody who's got a new idea the chance to make it happen. And so we had some folks who, they attended church, they listened to sermons, and they said, there's got to be a way that we can take what we're seeing and the need that we know exists and make it better. So the very beginning of sermon audio recording was actually during one of these hackathons. A team of 5 people stayed up almost all night, and they put together the really rough version.
Wow.
And then after that, it was just a matter of how do we take their idea and make it real? And so that took a couple more months. And then it was near the end of last year that we had the final kind of product. And even now, it's still what we would say is in beta, right? Like it works, but we're constantly improving what's that look like. We're improving the website. So one of the things it actually does is your recordings get stored and then archived on a website that we've created. And we're improving that site to make it easier for you to discover that, for other people to discover your sermons if you want them to, right? It's this whole element of trying to make it more interconnected. And so that's been a process, but it all started with that little idea and 5 people losing a lot of sleep.
So I was kind of right. there was an overnighter involved. That's really cool. Just even that concept is really cool. Just, getting groups together to hash out ideas. And I think more churches can even like practice that, that concept. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing the backstory about that.
Glad to do it. It was a ton of fun to be a part of.
Yeah, very cool. So as you guys are listening and watching live, if you have any questions, you can actually do a /Q and share in the chat, and then we'll see it and we'll answer as many as we can. So Morgan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask, so you said that the videos, whatever you record, gets stored on your website. Are those files available to like export and save onto like your desktop? Like, can you go in and edit, say, somebody said something that they didn't mean to say, or not anything bad, let's not go there, but say you want to take out this little part or something like that. Like, how easy is it to edit these, to kind of condense them down or to make them how you want them and then publish them?
Great question. So one thing I'm going to do right now is see if I can't find just an example one that we've made. So let's see here. I think this is the one that I want. Perfect. So here's one we had. I think I put this together. Let's see. Yeah, about a couple weeks ago. So this is on the website. So here's one of the things that, just for explanation, we have the website where you host your sermons is called soundfaith.com. So that's one of the things that we're making right now. And so what happens, just to give you an idea of the process, is when I'm working in Proclaim, I do my recording, I make sure that I've got everything the way I want it, and then I send it off to publish. And it puts it on SoundFaith in kind of a discoverable form for you to use or let other people find. And then it also goes ahead and puts it into a group that you've created so that your church can easily find it, that sort of thing, over on our website, Faith Life. And so what I just linked in is an example one that we made. And so this is just like a 45-second demo of how it works. But what's functionally happening, to answer your question, is right now we have a term around the office called auto-magically. Auto-magically is when we describe something as happening through the use of like dev or tech, where we don't want to go into the specifics because I don't understand them. So basically the way it works is when I'm recording, say I had 5 slides and I read off, and this is actually in the example, I read off John 1 through 5, all right? Every slide shows one of those verses. And then when I'm done, it's going to have my whole recording and each of those slides where I was speaking. But it's not actually a video. What's happening is it's a little bit of a clever tool where we're pulling in the audio, and then we're putting in these little markers that know when to switch slides and which slides were shown. And that's the auto-magical part. It auto-magically takes your visuals, makes them audio. Now, that's awesome in terms of you using it, but it means that it's not just a video file for you to download. One of our biggest requests is, how do we download that? How do we use that in our editing? What would we do next? So we're really actively as a team right now working on that. I've already seen some specs. I can't tell you exactly what they do because it's still under wraps, but I've seen some specs of what they're doing. What are ways that we're going to try and deliver that as video content that you can download, play with. So not only is it something that you can use, like say in the group that we provide, or even on your church website through like a widget, but you could also take that video file and do even more with it. So those are definitely things we're exploring.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool. Wow. Man, you got some like really smart people there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
Like, wow.
Jeez. So I know like at our church, our pastor loves to use his iPad for the sermon notes. Is that something that you guys have available as a feature? Or?
Yeah, so here's actually one of the kind of nifty things. The way it works is you can not only look at your notes and like your slides from an iPad or Android or whatever you're using, but you can also go ahead and change the slides as you're working. And so that means that the pastor, if he sets up audio recording at the computer before he gets started, he can be running and see his notes for his sermon. He can be saying, here's my next slide, here's the video, and it's keeping track of each of those slides so that when he's done, the recording has it plus the timing that he generated there on his iPad. So, it's a really easy way for him to have that. And then we've got some cool ways that even audience members can follow along during that process and look at it later from their mobile devices. So we're really about making sure that, the church exists in a mobile space now, and it exists on the device as much as it does anywhere else, right? The church is happening where we are, and we spend a lot of our time now online or in our phones or somewhere like that. And so we want to make sure those tools are in the same place as those people are. Otherwise, needs aren't really being met.
Yeah, I love that because I don't know how many times I've heard the pastor go, okay, next slide. Hello, the teen back there that's like volunteering fell asleep or they're texting or something, they're on Facebook.
So when I grew up in my church, and I actually was that guy. I was the one in the back.
You were the guy on Facebook?
I was the guy on Facebook, in the back. No, so I was the guy in the back, and I'd always have to go ahead and be working there and making everything happen.
Yeah.
And, sure enough, you're like, all of a sudden I like, thinking that's a really good point the pastor made. Man, that's smart. I like that. How does that relate to this part of the Bible? And then somebody slammed it. Are you sleeping? What's happening? Next slide.
So you're fired now. We don't.
Yeah. So now I can just say, hey, pastor, you could use your iPad and let me daydream about your sermon all day long.
That's really cool. I mean, I just love, like, from my own experience using Proclaim, I love how easy it is to use. And it saved me literally like 2 hours a week in preparing for the slides for Sunday. So I'm a huge fan of Proclaim, and I love like how you guys are constantly pushing out new features.
Yeah, when you were using it, how many people were involved? Was it just you, or was it you and like another worship leader or tech guy, or?
Well, actually, like putting it together, there were 2 or 3 of us each week putting it together. And then every week we may have like a new volunteer on the computer, that's never used the slide, anything on the computer before at church. And it literally took like 2 minutes to teach them how to use it. Here's that arrow, just press the arrow.
One of my favorite stories, actually, I think this is when I met you out in Virginia. It was that same weekend. And I was sitting there and I was explaining the program to a bunch of people, and this woman walks past and she's like, hey, you guys are Proclaim, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, oh, I love you guys. And she explained that they had their tech director one Sunday. He was supposed to be coming to church, and he got in a car accident. And it wasn't bad. He was okay. But he also was not going to make church on time.
Yeah.
And so she grabs one of the high school students and sits him at the computer and is like, you're going to run the service. And he's like, and she says, here, just, it's all here. It's in the program. You can do it. We start in 4 minutes. So go. And he looks and he goes, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I can. And he did it without a hitch. He ran the whole thing. He even found some of our like hidden cool features all in the space of 30 minutes while he's working. And it was literally like in the seat of his pants while he was there. So, we like to use it as a joke, but really and truly, you're spot on. It's easy for the volunteers, and it's awesome Because like for you as the worship leader, if you're bringing in your songs and you're using Planning Center or you're pulling something in from CCLI, there's all that time involved of arranging, and you want to be able to make that easier, but you also want it to be simple if you're trying to choose really good backgrounds and not have that same, kind of turquoise background you've been using for the past 4 weeks, because new backgrounds are hard.
Yeah.
And so just at every stage along the way, our commitment is to how do we serve your ministry by making it easier, by making it more engaging, all of those things. And so I'm glad that was your experience, because that's what we're looking to create.
Yeah, for sure. So like if you're, say worship leaders listening right now, they're not using Proclaim, but they're kind of convinced now that they should maybe try it out. Like, what would be a good way for them, to approach their leadership team or their pastor and, present this idea? Like, what have you seen was, really successful as far as that goes?
Yeah, great question. Well, here's one of the first things I always like to go ahead and let people know, and I just posted a link to this. But we actually have a free trial for anyone who wants to try it out. It's 30 days. It's the program. It's media that we make. It's basically kind of the whole experience. So you have all these tools. And I love to point people there first, because I know that if you're a worship leader, if you're a tech director, a pastor, even a volunteer, and you're wanting to improve something about what's currently happening for your week, it really helps for you to be confident in it before you take it, to the pastor. I remember working in the back of the booth, and I'd see something. I'd be like, guys, this is awesome. I really want you to check it out. I watched their video online. And, the pastor's like, that does sound good, but we're busy and there's a lot going on and Christmas is next week. Right. There's always something going on. And so just having the ability to download the program, see our training materials, just try it for yourself. And then you can use it in your church the next week. You can use it at the worship rehearsal, right? In the same amount of time it's taking you to set everything up, you could have all your songs in Proclaim in less than like 3 minutes. And so it's really simple for you to arrange everything and just test it and make sure it's going to work in your environment and then get confident in it. Once you've done that, what I'd say is we have a joke here that there's always someone on the staff that's the advocate for us, right? Maybe you're the volunteer, maybe you're the head pastor, in which case you have a lot of power, but maybe you're like, just the worship leader who started last week and has this idea for where you can go. And so we want to support those advocates. We want to find the person who's like really into Proclaim and make sure that we're giving them those tools. And so I'm actually personally available as well. If you email Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T, at proclaimonline.com. Tell me who you are, what you're looking for. I send you a message. I make sure our team takes care of you so that we can give you those tools, answer those questions, make sure you're comfortable and feel ready to go to your church and say, here's this program, here's how it's going to help us, and here's how they've already shown that. So that's a really big thing for us, is that we want you to be as confident as we are.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah. One thing I really, one of the many things I really loved about Proclaim is that, like, because I didn't have like office hours at the church. Sometimes I'd be working from home or Starbucks or whatever, and I can actually work on the presentation for Sunday from like anywhere, and it syncs up. Because before I would have to be in the church building at the computer in the sanctuary and all by myself in the church. I'm going, this is Friday afternoon and I'm stuck here doing this, So I love that it's so, it's like cloud-based and it's so, mobile, and, you can do it from anywhere. Yeah. And you can have a lot of people.
Yeah. No, that's one of the really cool things. Like whenever somebody wants to ask, what makes Proclaim different than blank, and I don't name names, and, they're always coming from somewhere where they're trying a program or they've been using some solution. The thing I always like to stress is the flexibility of it. And that, when you get Proclaim, you're getting it on Mac and on PC. You can have it for as many computers as you want. You can have it on the computer at the church, but you can also be in your office or at home or the coffee shop. And it's syncing up everything for your whole team so that Sunday morning you can go and know that everything's ready. And then the other really cool thing that even a lot of people still don't know, and so it's like a kind of fun fact, you can use Proclaim to present with one license in multiple like rooms. So if you've got the main service, but also you got the youth group and something's happening where you want to do 2 things at once, you can have all that running at the same time without having to buy another computer or another license or just these things that can really slow down ministries when they want that opportunity. And so, one of the jokes we had about this is there was we asked people, how has Proclaim changed your ministry? How's this improving? And somebody wrote in and they said, they're like, every week we have one computer for the church, and we're actually taking the computer out of the church and we pass it along to each team member. And then they take it home, plug it in, make this presentation, and then they bring it back to the church on Sunday morning. Now, maybe they had a laptop, but it sounded a lot like they had a big desktop, and they were actually carting this around every week. And we just laughed at the idea of that and how, we want it to be easy. So if you're on a Mac, if you're using one program, if you're somewhere else, it's on your computer. You can use it from anywhere and know that it's saved. We want it to be really simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that, like how easy it was to be from one computer and take it to the next or whatever. So that's cool that it's, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Most stuff doesn't work like that. So it's great that you can just kind of, oh, I'm going to be in here today. And so I'm going to work on it in there. I'm going to take it home. Like, that's so convenient.
And like, not that I advocate procrastination, but I think it's fair to say that anybody watching, any worship leader, anyone has those moments where, I forgot something, or like, I'll do that later, and then you're at home. And so knowing that, like, even on Saturday night, you shouldn't do this, but even on Saturday night, you can go, I forgot that we changed up the order of How Great Is Our God tomorrow morning. Yeah. That I can open up my computer, I can make those changes, and it's done. And it's already changed at the church. Is such a nice thing and confidence. Yeah. I don't want to enable people who are procrastinators, but it's definitely, it's good to have that. And the fact that, so the way it works is everything takes place in these groups. And so like, say we wanted to start making presentations together, right? We would just make an integrity and proclaim group. And then once we had that, we'd all be a part of it. So if you're working on it, Wisdom, and you make a change, I can log in and be like, oh, okay, good. Wisdom brought his stuff in. I don't have to do that anymore. I can go in and make my own thing. And so it's really nice, not only that I can work from anywhere, but you can help me out, make those things so we can do it together. And so it's really nice knowing that it's not just my eyes on something for Sunday morning, because even when I was making stuff, I can make a mistake, but I've got a team of people there to back me up.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wow. Well, before we close out, I want to make sure like we covered the 5 reasons to record sermons. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just double check.
You want to go through those real quick?
Yeah, I think if we were to just list them off, the number one reason was the idea that you can catch up, right? So like if you miss the sermon, it's easy to go ahead and record it. So that's a reason you want to record sermons. We talked about the ability for you to be able to listen to it again. So even if you were there, what was that important part? What was the pastor drilling in on, right? Also, the ability for you to promote it. So if you want to get your sermons out somewhere in a new space, invite people into your church, let people know what you're all about, that it's really enabling that for you. And then the idea that you can not just promote it, but just share it internally with your church, and that you're making an archive, which was that 5th reason. So that you have the ability to, say, fall back. And, archives, they're a thing that sometimes you really want, sometimes, you don't want all the time, but having control over them is nice. I talked to pastors who say, I want all my sermons from the past 13 years. And I talk to pastors who are like, I don't like any of my sermons from 3 years ago. But just knowing that you have that, you can look through it. It's really, really cool. And one of the exciting things we're doing is we're making it so the sermons you're saving go onto that website, Sound Faith, and are able to be found by you, your church, but also you can start making those something that people can find and hear, so that if, I'm just looking for an idea, like how do I maybe want to shape this topic, or what else has somebody done on this? I can go listen to people's sermons even as I'm making sermons or looking for something. That's cool. A study tool, a research tool, just another way that you can find kind of the same benefits people are doing all over. So
that's cool. And that's called soundfaith.com.
Soundfaith.com. And you can go look at that. But really right now, the best thing to do is go to proclaimonline.com, give that one of those free 30-day trials, do some of the audio recording testing. We got links, we got training videos. It's just a way for you to really find it, see how easy it is, and then start posting your own sermons or your own recordings. And it's not just something to use in the church. I mean, we talk about that a lot, right? And that's kind of the vision we're casting here. But I've got a guy who I was just talking to who is teaching classes this quarter. And he's really excited. He's going to be using the program to record his classes and his lectures, so that he can make those available on his website for his students after the fact. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so you can do that in a religious setting, and in a classroom, at a Bible college. There's so many places for you to say, what are the things that I'm saying that I want people to be able to hear later, and also see the slides, the visuals, the kind of pieces that were part of that, and make sure they get the whole package so we can come back to it later. So we're really thinking this is a step that's going to really improve that for so many people.
Yeah, that's cool. And with Sound Faith, I could also see where, my wife and I talk a lot about different theological topics, she's a really deep thinker. So like just randomly she'll be like, why did this happen in the Bible? I don't understand. Like Sound Faith sounds like a place I could go and search that topic and
Absolutely.
find sermons on it. So that's really a great resource.
Cool.
It's exciting. And right
yeah.
now, when you get there, you'll see that, there's a little beta symbol in the upper right. So we're still building it. So if you get there and you go, that's kind of cool, but I wish it was cooler, go ahead and let us know. We actually really want that feedback right now. You mentioned earlier that we're all about continuing to improve. And so Proclaim isn't the same as when you started using it, a year ago. It continues to get better. We're always doing that and making sure that changes. And we love feedback, especially on new things like recording or on Sound Faith or anything like that. So you letting us know and telling us, here's what I want to know about this, or here's how that works, is really, really good for us.
Right. And, part of the reason I wanted to have you on here to talk about Proclaim and recording sermons as a part of We Are Worship Wednesday is because I know a lot of worship leaders, are involved with, the presentation side, or they're involved with the tech team. And I think it's a great resource for worship leaders and even pastors, to know about this resource and, just try it out. And because for me personally, it, saved me so much time every week and made me be able to be more freed up as far as like where I could be, So yeah, I appreciate what you guys are doing for the body of Christ and serving, the local church, everywhere.
Well,
so.
I appreciate that. We're really glad for what you guys are doing. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you guys. One thing I did want to do for follow-up is the last thing I'm going to post here, on faithlife.com, which is that website where we have groups and the ability for you to interact. We actually have a big group just for Proclaim. So if you're using it or you want to use it, you got a question, you can reach us there. And so anybody who's watching or wants to connect, that's a place where you can go and view, just basically it's our community. So ask us questions, learn more. We'll be there as well to help you out. So that's a good connection point. But
Cool.
Yeah, we're really stoked that you guys had us here today. And, it's good to see you. I wish we were having Korean barbecue right now.
Yeah.
But next time I see you in person, we'll make sure that happens.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you want to take advantage of our free songs, you can go to weareworship.com from anywhere within the earth, and it will take you to the right website depending on where you're located, and you can download the free songs. It's free to join our website. So we're here to serve the church and resource the church and equip the church. So every week we're going to be bringing starting 2016, this is a great resource that we're highlighting, and each week we'll have different people on here. Some will be worship leaders, some will be songwriters, some will be different resources that we know of. So if you want to hear about certain topics, you can let us know, tweet us, We Are Worship USA, and give us feedback on what you would like to hear about or who you would like to see as our guest each week. So we'll see you next week on Wednesday, because it's We Are Worship Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week.